every single thing that I thought was a misstep or something bad happening to me actually prepared me for where I am right now. And without those things, I don't think I would be as prepared to do what I do right now.
Come see for yourself that American dream. Hey.
My name is Daryce Tolliver, fondly known as Reese, from the Bronx, New York, currently still living there. And I am a licensed cosmetologist, owner of A Curl Can Dream, a natural hair salon. I was raised by my mom. My dad kind of not in the picture early on. We have a better relationship now, thank God. But I have an older sister that's 6 years my senior. A lot of women in my life, young. A lot of strong Black women. I had that figure from young. They did everything. I remember my mom working 2 jobs at a point, I think at a restaurant or something like that. So the hustle kind of early on, I've always seen. One thing I would say that my mom taught me early on was the ability to form and stand behind my opinion. I found, especially in adulthood, that that's really important, and also that many people aren't as fortunate to have that. Somebody in your life, an adult giving you space to speak your mind, wrong or right. It may not have changed anything, but she gave me the space to speak. And so I found my voice pretty early in life. With having an older sibling, I always had someone to look up to. She made a lot of the mistakes that I never had to repeat. So I made a lot of my own, and I call myself a rebel without a cause, because I really didn't have a need to give my mom as much friction as I did, but I was pushing the limits. And it really was because there's something that stuck in my head from childhood. My mom used to say, you never know you don't like something or that you like something until you try it. And it just stuck with me. So before I judge anything or say anything, I really have to know what my experience is with it. And so I stuck with me still as an adult. I will try it almost anything once. And I pretty much stand behind anything I say. And if I'm gonna say it, it needs to be, I need to have 100% integrity behind it. And so that's who I am today. That's something I stick with. So my journey into this industry, the cosmetology industry, I fell into cosmetology. This was not a lifelong passion. This wasn't something I dreamt of as a kid. I actually wanted to be an English teacher. Falling into cosmetology school came on the day of Trayvon Martin's case. And a friend of mine who's no longer with us, we were having a very interesting and in-depth conversation about just where we were, young Black people just trying to make something of ourselves. And he was a young Black man who was attending Benedict College at the time. And he was probably one of the most ambitious on the block, I would say, He was like, why didn't you ever get into hair? You change your hair like no one else. You can rock a shortcut, you'll have long hair next week, you'll change the color, you'll get braids, you do all these things, and you do them yourself. But why didn't you ever try that out? And I was like, because who wants to be a hairstylist? And I mean, I didn't have anyone in this particular field that I saw as successful, quite frankly. I saw it as a hobby, a side job. He was like, let's look up some. I looked up the cosmetology school, was going to go to the open house because they told me they had one exactly that day. And literally once I hung up the phone, my mom called me to tell me that my uncle passed away, my grandmother's brother. And so that was one death of the day. I left, went to the open house, came back home. We hung out outside. It's a summer day. And he got stabbed that night. And I actually watched him go in the hallway. And so for me, that was a day that sticks with me because it taught me how fragile life is and how quickly it passes. Someone old in age and sick was out of their misery, but someone young and bright, kind of got stopped by what they could have done. And I think about how his last moments were spent speaking life into me. So fast forward, cosmetology school was rough. I got actually terminated from the first cosmetology school I went to. A lot of life issues, absences and things like that didn't work out. I ended up having to transfer my hours. And like any other transfer student, you realize you lose your credits, you lose the work you did, and I had to start from the beginning. The difference with starting at the second school was that I was already hired by L'Oreal. L'Oreal, their subsidiary, Mazzani, actually hired me as one of their platform artists and their new up-and-coming stylist. So the way that I was able to work with the company and in the world of hair, pretty much as long as you're a student and you're working with someone who has a license, you can kind of still work. And so that's how I got by my first couple of years in the industry, all while still being a student. By my second year, or trying to get to the end of that program, I was already working in a salon in Midtown on 45th Street. It was a Black-owned salon, high-end luxury, and I was booth running. And so I was going to school, platform artist by night, and working in the salon by the chair, behind the chair. And it was a very interesting kind of just dynamic. I felt like I didn't sleep, but I learned a lot. Early on, I was learning a lot. My clientele, being in New York City, I do have some of New York City's it girls on my client list, but most of my clients vary from medical professionals to moms to influencers to lawyers to everyone. But to name a few, Christiane Pitts, who was on Broadway, she starred in King Kong and A Bronx Tale, Gia Peppers, Scotty Beam, Melanie LaBerge, she stars in Power, and she was the cousin on This Is Us. So I have a couple of A-listers, B-listers, regular everyday women, specifically Black women though. I cater specifically to a Black woman. My inspiration ranges from Beyonce to Erykah Badu to Maya Angelou to Cardi B, quite frankly. And I believe I find inspiration in powerful women. I find inspiration in liberated women. I find inspiration in women that speak their minds, no matter how it makes people feel. I find inspiration in women who don't shrink themselves. And so my inspiration comes from Black women. The opinions of white males on what it means to be beautiful, on what it means to be pulled together, on what it means to be professional is so skewed. And for Black women specifically, who are the culture, who are the flavor, who are the seasoning, who bring the trends, it's crazy that we don't have as much say-so, still. I can say I'm still referred to as ethnic hair care, and general market is still seen as general market. And I have challenged that word from the beginning of my career. What does general market mean when it's not inclusive of everyone? Good hair to me is healthy off the top, because healthy hair will do what you want it to do. And in my experience, I haven't had to overwork hair. I haven't had to over blow dry, overheat, over style, because my goal at the end is to make the hair healthy. Good hair that has been forced down our throats is something smooth, silky, manageable, nice to look at. I think we are reframing what good hair means, because the word good is perspective. And good hair is the hair that comes out of your head, to me, quite honestly. I listen to so many women criticize themselves and think that they're less than because they haven't found the technique and method. And that's how we're gonna get there, is more education. We're gonna get there by openly sharing our experiences. We're gonna get there by talking through our traumas that actually are collective rather than interpersonal, rather. That's where I'm at with good hair. My advice for anyone trying to get into this industry, it would be to be a sponge. Everything and everyone can be a learning experience. You can learn from someone who has been in this industry longer or in less time than you have. You just have to be open to it. There's a million ways to skin a cat. And lastly, it would be that you really can control your own destiny in this industry. There's no one way to do this.